Welcome. Welcome to the Assembly Summer 2016 ARTEC seminars. As a second speech, we have two speakers. Kadri Ugand, who is CEO and co-founder of Game Founders. And the second speaker is Sonja Angesleva, who is project director at Unity, with the title From Game to Studio to Business. So let's welcome our two speakers on the stage.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So this will actually be a discussion or an interview. I will be asking tough questions from Kadri to understand how, if you or anyone has a dream of becoming a game developer, you have the best idea ever, and maybe you even managed to put the game together and put it to App Store or wherever, like Steam, where you release it, and then you realize that there are no players there. So what's up? So I have Kadri Ugand here from Game Founders, and we could actually start the chat by asking, like, what is Game Founders?
Hi from my part as well. As Sonja said, I'm running Game Founders, which is a startup accelerator for game studios only. So can I actually have a show of hands who is developing games? Yay, wow, more than half.
We have developers.
Good, nice. So I'm not sure how much you know about Game Founders, but I'll do it really quick. So Game Founders basically looks for teams that are good in all the technical parts of the game development. They have like their artists and programmers and game designers all together, but they necessarily might not be that good in business. So they might not be able to monetize their game. They don't know maybe how to launch. They don't have enough network to find a publisher or other kind of strategic partners that they need. So basically what we do is we bring 10 teams together at one point for 3 months, and they go through a program which allows them access to a lot of different mentors who are game developers themselves from all over the world, who already are enjoying the success that all of you guys want to have. And so we help them with different seminars, mentoring. People are looking at your game, giving you feedback, helping you with intros. So it's like a kind of a, I would say like a game business MBA put into 3 months. And it actually continues afterwards as well. So all of the studios that we work with, we also work with once they leave. So it's basically like a big family that you enter into when you come to Game Founders. So that's what we do.
Yeah, the nice twist about this discussion is that actually the official title was a nice one, From Game Development to Business or something like that. And then Kadri changed it into 5 ways of killing an indie. So I would like to understand, so why do you want to kill indies?
No, I was just thinking, you know, how to get a more crowd into our talk. Like maybe this was like too boring. So I was thinking about, you know, what are the main things what people do wrong? Because during the last, like I've been doing this since 2012, and I've seen more than 1,000 studios. And at that point, you start getting these like statistics about, you know, half of them are doing this wrong and half of them are doing that wrong, and you can really fast see what is going on and what you can actually recommend them. So I was thinking about maybe we can talk about the five ways to kill an indie, but you know, in a positive twist, maybe 5 things not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Should we get into the points?
Yes.
So what's your first lesson you want to share?
Yeah. So actually, you know, coming back to the game studio business part, I mean, every stage has its different kind of pitfalls. So let's say when you guys are developing a game, you're only thinking about, you know, game and game design and monetization. If you're better, you're also thinking about metrics and KPIs and stuff. But let's say you launch the game. It doesn't matter if it's successful or not. Then you have a whole lot of different issues. Are we going to do the next one? Are we going to stay together? Are we going to split up? Are we going to do something different? And even if you do the next one and the next one, then the question begins, is it just a studio? Do we want to grow into a big business? Do we want to do lifestyle? So there's a lot of questions and different questions at different stages. So actually the first one that I see a lot that people are doing is they get immersed into outsourcing. So outsourcing is basically working for other people, so working for other game companies or publishers and doing their games for them. So what I see a lot is that you see it as easy money, but if you think about it, at the end of the day with outsourcing, you only get whatever you charge for your hour times how many hours there are in a day if you don't sleep or eat or go home or have a personal life. So that will forever be your limit, and you can never scale up, and you will never become a Supercell. You will never, enjoy the real huge success. So this is one of the things that we've seen, and but at the same time, I'm definitely not saying do not outsource, because outsourcing is a way a lot of indies get a lot of they get a track record, they get experience, they learn a lot from the partners that they're working with. But I would do it in a smart way. So like split up your team. Like some of them is doing outsource, but some of them is still doing your own game. Or like, I don't know, make some kind of a rule that I'll only do one and then I'll do one of my own game. Because as soon as you see sort of like sure money, then you go and get it. And then you see the next money and then you go and get it. And at the end of the day, you realize you're 50 years old and you're still doing outsource.
But what if you basically are totally broke? You don't have any money to create your own IPs. What are the options?
Well, that's basically what I'm saying. Sort of like I would split, or I would do like one thing and then the other, because usually, I mean, how much you charge for outsource is not just like plain living sort of minimum. You still charge a bit more.
Yeah.
So I would still keep an eye on the price in a sense that I'm not saying don't outsource. I'm saying like don't get lost in it, because that's what we see a lot.
And is that actually typical? Yeah, you have seen like lots of game founders teams already all around the world. So is that actually typical to do a lot of like contracting work or outsourcing work?
Yes, and it's actually it's all over the world. Like we have really good Brazilian companies that are working with like Mattel and Cartoon Network and all that, and they get new contracts, and then they sort of like go there. But now they're also sort of like taking a break, and sort of like they realize like we have 6 months, we can make a game in 4 months, and then we still have time to find new work. So still keeping an eye on the price. But as I said, being able to say that I've worked with big studios is also something that is good.
Yeah.
But just like make your own IP as well. We need more games.
Yeah, I think so. My personal experience has been that often it's super valuable to have something to show. It doesn't have to be original IP. But it has to be something like finalized or published in some way. So in that case, like outsourcing could do the trick for a noob developers who don't have any like name or network to rely on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a very good way to get started. And I mean, if you can get somebody to hire you if you don't have any track record, then that's a perfect way to get one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. I think that sounds reasonable.
Next one?
Yeah.
You sort of already mentioned it, but so another thing we see is people are polishing their games for years. So they start making it, and then now we need to add this new system, and now we need to add this, like we need to revamp the art, and now we need to do this and that, and they never even get to soft launch. And so it's like we have this one studio that like they made a game for over a year. It's a mobile game, so it was actually almost like soft launchable in like 6-8 months. But still, a year later, they were still making it, and then they decided, oh no, now we'll change the whole like concept and the main characters, and that added another half year, and we were like, oh my God, what are you doing?
That's actually a tricky point. As how do you know when your game is good enough, like
you ask your players. I mean, if you polish it forever and you never soft launch it, how do you even know? Like, if you make some kind of a soft launch, it doesn't have to even be global. You can select like regions or whatnot, and you can only have it for a while and then you know, take it off again. But the idea is that you start building a community, you start getting feedback, you start understanding what are people actually doing in your game. Because, you know, we all think we know, but the reality sometimes hits hard.
Do you have any tips or tricks, like what type of user feedback? How much is like two guys, two friends enough, or should you actually get someone, I don't know, from the main like mobile games markets, like from the North America, for example? Is it about like thousands of players, or what's the minimum?
Well, I think it always depends on like where your game is at. Because like at the beginning, you can also get just like, you know, just have a random person play it and see, like maybe they are like super frustrated at some point and just don't want to play. Like, you know, the basic things you can also get already from a small group. But if your game is already like, you know, almost ready, then you should actually like do a proper launch and have people there who maybe don't know you personally and who don't have the same last name as you.
Yeah. So are you saying that actually the artists are the bottleneck, in the sense that the coders are not like polishing the code forever, or the audio guys are not like tweaking the sounds forever, but it's the artists who are the ones to blame?
I think it's, I mean, we have seen also like game designers like in the middle of it, like say like, oh, but let's try like a different monetization. Oh, now we should add like a gacha system. Now we should add this and that. And it's like, okay, fine, add it. Like, but you know, if you keep adding it for years, then like at the end of the day, you need to eat as well. And I mean, it's better, even if the game sucks, it's better if you find out faster than if you find out after you have spent 2 years of your life and all your savings and whatnot on it.
I'm still hanging on this point because I think this is actually quite relevant one, and also a tricky one, in the sense that often you think of like polish meaning like visually improving the style, but it can be so much more.
I mean everything. I mean everything. I mean, you can always like, you know, oh, we have to clean up the code some more, and now we have to do this and that, and it's not even that much artists that do that. It's a lot of the time it's the producers or like the program managers or the guys who are like leading the team. They're like, oh, a little bit more, little bit more, little bit more.
So as like an incubator for game studios, how do you help them to get out of that loop?
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of like talks with them during the time that they are there. So we just try to knock some sense into them, and we try to present them with opportunities of like how to soft launch, and we explain how to do that and what kind of metrics you should track, and what kind of like where should you do your soft launch and how. And we also introduce you to 2 different platforms so that they can also say how they do this, and like what are the services that they offer that could help you. So we're just trying to push. But I mean, always it doesn't work. As I said, we have this one team that's been polishing their game forever, and like I'm just screaming at them every week, but nothing.
Okay, so there, yeah, because that was also my next question. Like, do you have an example of this, like a success story? But I guess your number one example is the one.
Yeah, my success story of killing an indie.
Yeah.
No, they're still alive. They're still alive. They're gonna make it.
Yeah. Cool.
Next?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's move to next one.
Okay. So next one, only make games you like to play. So
why not?
Well, I mean, of course you need to like it, but we see a lot of teams that come together, and like if we ask, so how did you come up with this idea? Oh, this is the game that we always wanted to play, so we're going to do it this way and that way, and because like, you know, we don't really like to pay for games, so we're going to make it free, and like we don't really like in-app purchases, so it's going to be premium, and we don't really, so like at the end of the day, it's like a kind of game that will remain a game, and perhaps even a good one, but that will never turn into a business. I mean, I'm saying all of these things in the light of you want to earn money, not just, you know, you want to make a game. So in that sense, like a lot of games studios actually get together, people wanting to make the same game, but then the question is like, are you going to level up to becoming a real studio? And are you going to level up to that studio actually being a successful business?
That's also, yeah, there's a lot of like challenges if you are like a new developer, even a bit more like experienced developer, as it's really hard to say like, okay, if I don't want to do like, I don't know, Clash of Clans, Candy Crush type of things, but I actually have a niche game. So game for a sort of a marginal audience, but very like well monetizing, clearly defined audience. So how do I know if it's actually worthwhile to even try to focus on those?
Well, I mean, you never know in advance, otherwise we would all be millionaires here, right? But I mean, I'm not saying only make games that you don't like that would be too extreme. But I'm just saying, you know, realize what is what makes a game and what's in a game and who are the people you're making it for besides yourselves. How many of them are there, and can you actually reach them, and would they like to play it as well? I mean, we have a really cool example from, we have a studio from Lithuania in our portfolio, and so they wanted to do this like huge strategy game. Like they had made a successful strategy game in the past, but they had made it in an engine that wasn't really working anymore. They didn't make it in Unity. They're bad. But so now they decided they need to find a way to make money on the side. So they started making kids racing games on Android because that category was totally empty. And now they're a Google top developer and they're making like a huge amount of money, and they split their team, and half of them is doing those like small kids games that none of them these are really guys with tattoos, right? So I mean, and they're making kids racing games. This is so cute. And at the same time, it's like other guys that are making their strategy game with that money. So I mean, always do things on purpose. That's sort of like my mantra in a way. Like you can do whatever, but don't do it just because it's convenient or because it's like this is what I want to do now or this is what I like. Like figure out if it actually gets you where you want to go.
Do you have any suggestions? Okay, I think one of the big problem at the moment, especially with mobile games, is that no matter how great your game is, if you don't have any dollars to put to marketing, no one will notice your game because app stores are so full of new games. So do you have actually any tricks how to get visibility, no matter if it's a marginal niche game or these yet another match two of a kind of game?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is no magic formula, but there is a sort of a wave of publishers coming on again. I mean, at some point you could only publish your game through a publisher. Then everybody went into self-publishing because publishers are evil and we don't want to give them our money. But now people are again starting to look at publishers because they are the ones that have the marketing dollars and they can acquire users and they can bring some users into your game. So, I mean, I'm not saying publishers are perfect or that they're evil, but that is definitely a way to go to get more visibility. But also what I've seen is people starting to create communities around their games early on. So, you know, not keeping your game to yourself, but actually showing it to people and creating a Facebook page and updating and sort of creating a community even before, or launching in a super early pre-alpha stage and then getting people to like it and sort of help each other play or something like that. So this is a way we've seen some of our studios build it.
Facebook. It's still there.
It is, for some reason.
All right. Thanks for this. So let's move on to next point.
Ooh, this is my favorite. Not really. So we have so many teams coming and saying, so we have this game idea. So basically you have to sign an NDA even before you see it. And we're just going to start making it once we get the money. And none of us has released any games or been in any game companies before. Booyah. No questions, huh?
No. I've just, I would say my first question is, okay, I'm actually surprised that people are focusing so much on this. As what I hear often is that they wonder, okay, should I ask money from mom, or where could I even find at any stage any investors? I'm surprised that people actually, waiting for the development to start forever, basically, as it's super hard to convince the investors.
It is. I mean, we are now operating for over a year in Asia, And what I see there is that, like, let's say what Flappy Bird actually did to Vietnam was that we were just there, like sometime after Flappy Bird happened, and all the big game companies were saying like, oh my God, like all my programmers, they just totally quit. And they went home because it's quite fine to live at your parents' like basement or something. And they all went home to do their own Flappy Bird. So basically the whole industry was like looking for programmers from adjacent countries to bring them in or even move, because everybody was leaving. And they were saying that I think it's going to be for 2 years, because that's around the time that they can survive. And I mean, if you're living with your parents and you get food, what else do you need? So I mean, like this is like a very sort of like funny story what a successful game can do. But I mean, coming back to this, yes, I think it's a very good opportunity to, if your like family or somebody can support you, or actually you need to be the investor in your first game. I mean, you need to put your time for free and take it to a stage where people can see that there is something there. Because if you are not the first one to believe in you, then how can a random person who doesn't know you come and believe in you?
I actually have another example which I think is really nice one. It's not about a game, it's about the Masquerade application. I was in Belarus when Facebook basically acquired the company, and I can tell you that like Minsk is full of really skilled developers, so they basically don't have that much of anything else but developers. And the funny thing was, basically the number one lesson learned from the Masquerade guys was that they said that they just participated in like number of game jams or hackathons, and were just like playing around with these like adding distortions to these images, and also getting like ideas actually from their friends. So what they did was like, 48 hours, like quickie, like applications, and then check it out with their friends, how it actually worked. And after that, they basically got one of your points that, get feedback from users. Yes, they got that. And after that, they actually ended up to this
and they launched really fast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of these things, not to do, they didn't do.
Yeah. Okay, but another question related to time. So not everyone and not every studio is Supercell or like developing applications like Masquerade, which took off basically after a couple of months. So what if you are this like average developer, you have been developing games for 6 years, and then you wonder like, should I still try to get feedback and develop whatever game before finding some investors or partners?
But if you've been developing games for 5 years already, then you must have something to show. And if everything sucks really bad, then it like...
Well, okay, maybe the question is, do I actually, after 6 years, do you actually need an investor? Is it really needed?
I mean, I think it's totally fine to not have an investor. I mean, like some of our most successful portfolio studios don't have investors, and they figure out their own ways, and at the end of the day, they own 100% of their company, and they're happy making their own decisions. And at the same time, some have investors, and that actually sort of like slows the process down sometimes. But I think it's always like an individual case. And I think, you guys in Finland, you have the possibility of saying you're from Finland, and you get like extra 10 points at least. So we had this like sort of like joke that if you're from Finland and you have worked previously at like Rovio or Supercell or Remedy, then you almost have like the investment in the pocket, doesn't matter what you do.
But that's actually golden in the sense that often when, so yes, we have a couple of successes in Finland and a lot of like wannabes or, the ones that really, really want to be the next.
But your wannabes are a lot of the time even better than other countries' stars.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's a good thing.
But but the point is that often these like wannabes or noobs, like developers, they consider having an investor being a like must-have, even though like I think that's why your point was golden, that you don't really like, do you really need external investment in your company, or are there ways, okay, if you don't want to do subcontracting, fine, but are there any other ways, or what's your sort of like level of income you are striving for?
Yeah. I mean, I think it also depends on your age and like where you are in your life. I mean, obviously, if you have a family, it's not like, hey kids, so let's sit around the dinner table. So we're not going to eat for a year. That is making a game. I mean, you can't really do that. But
Oh, Dad.
but if you're like a student or something, you can definitely like say to your parents that I'm going to live with you and make this game now.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, like it's very individual, but there are definitely opportunities. And at the end of the day, getting started is like with an investor is more for later stage teams already.
So what about Game Founders portfolio companies? So basically, game studios can apply to a Game Founders program, but if a studio gets into your program, will you also provide help regarding like investments or with whom to talk to? Do you introduce game studios with VCs or angels?
We do like a few things. So first of all, we help building the pitch, and we help building the strategy in a sense of when and who should you target in the first place. And also we do make intros, but it's not like you come in and we just intro you to the world. I mean, if we intro bad teams to investors, then next time they will not take the intro. So first we want to make the teams bring them to the level where we feel that it's good to bring investors to them, and then yes, of course.
All right. Sounds good. Let's take the next one.
Last but not least.
Last.
Yes. So make every next game on a different platform. So this is something I would say is again, it's not like an ultimate point that you always have to only stick with one platform. But we have seen a lot of teams that try mobile, don't get the free-to-play, then they start doing premium PC, then next one, we want to do console, but I mean, and then they're just like all over the place. And like imagine if that kind of a team goes to a publisher or an investor and is saying like, okay, we did this, it didn't work, then we did this, it didn't work, now we want to do this, would you be our partner? No. So it's again, it's a matter of focus, and it's a matter of doing things on purpose. So you understand what you want to do, and then you do that, but you don't do all over. Like maybe the picture is actually not good, because I don't mean that if you do a game that you cannot publish it on different platforms, but just keep in mind where your studio is going and what you want to do and where you want to be good at. I mean, you don't see the big successful studios being all over all platforms all the time. They still have their own focus, and they're working it.
But Kadri, like, world is changing all the time, and everyone is doing like VR games at the moment. So why should you?
And who are making money off the VR games?
Sorry.
And who are making money off the VR games? I know everybody's doing it. It's hot, but who's making money?
But I've seen the pictures. The potential revenues go like whoop.
Of
Hockey
course.
stick.
Of course. But they're not there.
No.
Well, I mean, like VR is another thing, of course, a lot of teams are very interested in. At the same time, if you start doing VR now, you're probably late. And if an indie studio wants to do a VR game, they need to have a lot of runway. So they need to have like parents with really huge basements that they can live in or support them otherwise, because it's kind of tough. We have had successful teams. Actually, one of our teams did the Rovio VR experiences. So they're a team from Brazil, and they've done already 2 for Rovio, and they are like really cool. And now, why they're getting a lot of attention is exactly that, because they did strategic outsource to a brand that is known worldwide in a sector that is hot, and now they are able to become like the VR sort of like big names in Brazil.
Right. But if you think of, again, so we are focusing on indies or like small studios. So I'm thinking of founding a new studio. I have 2 friends. So most likely we'll pick mobile platform because it's just easier compared to the others. And then when we did do something, we realized that, okay, there are 500 other games being released each day on the same platform. We don't have any friends on the Apple side, so we basically have the best game ever, but no players. And then we decide, okay, maybe Steam has this like green light, so maybe we should go there. Or then there is actually like investment opportunity, like investors looking for like decent VR studios or good VR studios. So What kind of...
I mean, I personally wouldn't build my studio based on like, you know, oh, there's an opportunity there, let's run. Now, there, run. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's not really...
But if I don't know, in the beginning, I just thought that, okay, I don't have any resources to create a console game. But me and my like 2 friends, we can actually do a tiny mobile game and see if we are the next whatever.
Well, I mean, then you sort of like, you do the game and you publish it and you see how it goes, and you look at the metrics, and I mean, like you sort of like, it's either successful or it's not. If it's not, I mean, then you already have something to show the people. You already have some kind of a track record. Or you try to do outsource for bigger companies to get some kind of partnerships in place, or then, you know, there are still opportunities that you can do, or just get some experience by working at somebody's if you're really good.
Do you have any, or what type of game studios are with Game Founders? Do you mostly have mobile, or how do you see the sort of trends?
We have mostly mobile because I think it's also important. Like we can help them more because their development cycle is faster, and we can sort of like help them faster. You can see the results faster. We also do have, actually, our last cohort was almost 100% PC. So we do have a bunch of those now as well, and we have a few VR. And of course, the existing companies are also looking into VR. So, but I mean, you need to have something before you go there, so to be successful in that way.
All right.
Yeah. But we don't, like, we still are looking at everything that we see has potential and that we can help. And that's actually like one of our criteria, can we help them? Because if we have somebody that comes in and says, I'm going to make a console game and it's going to be ready in 5 years, then it's not really a lot that we can help you with now.
Have you ever pushed the like Game Founder developers to move from one platform to another?
We have tried, yes. Yes, we have tried to have a game that we saw was better on tablets to go from PC to tablets, but they said no. So
what has been your, you know, I guess you have been preaching these 5 points to
Yes.
your game studio, so how successful have you been?
Well, I think that like in general we have, you know, people that already do this, we have people that understand that this is important, but also we have, I mean, we have some cases where we actually, you know, got the idea that these are the main points from. So it's still all over the place. Like we have different experiences, but in general, it's still like the main message is always to have a focus and to keep the focus. So I think that is something that they're actually doing.
By the way, how long are you with A Studio?
Forever.
Forever, okay. So they are with Game Founders on a location.
Well, they're at the location for 3 months, but then after that, we still work with them. Like they go home and they continue developing their game. When their game is at a stage, then they might, you know, help ask us, you know, we want to do like a soft launch. Do you have somebody that could help us? We introduce them to a mentor that is really good at that, or we help them find publishers, or we make intros, because we go to events all over the world all the time. So basically, when I'm going and I meet a publisher that is looking for games, I just have my portfolio out from my pocket and I'm like, okay, do you want mobile? Do you want premium? Do you want this or that? And that's how we can represent them all over the world, and they don't really have to travel, because an indie can't really afford that.
So after seeing like lots of studios or pitches of studios, do you have any crystal clear vision of the future, like what actually will be or are becoming the like main trends or directions where the game industry is going?
Well, I think for indies it's still like mobile focused, because obviously it's the easiest to do. But as you said before, it's super crowded. It's so difficult to go there. So people are consciously looking for like, you know, some kind of like niches or angles or something. Like for instance, there was this one studio, not ours, but so they made a game that was like super localized for the Arab market. And they were like, at some point they were like, oh my God, there is a glitch in our game. We're making so much money. But like some kind of a sheikh's kid had an iPad with an open credit card. and kept buying. So I mean, like, you know, and these kinds of things can be really successful. I mean, the same thing with our Lithuanian studio who is doing like kids racing games. Like, you can always find your niche and you can be really good at that and just like work there. And I think I see that is the sort of a strategy for mobile right now that works, because you still need to do, like, indie still majority they do mobile.
Okay. And so how many studios have been with Game Founders so far?
We have had 46.
And that's in Europe and Asia, or?
That's in Europe and Asia together, and actually now we are in the process of adding 10 more, so it's going to be 56 in a month.
Okay. Do you have any success story to share? Like, what has been the best success so far?
I think maybe the same, the Lithuanian company, they're pretty successful.
What's their name, by the way?
Tiny Lab Productions. So they are like doing really a lot of different things, and they're like also they have a lot of revenue, and they're growing the team, and it's sort of like going in a direction where we see they need to go. We have a lot of I mean, the Brazilian VR team, they are very strong. They are getting different awards for their own VR game that they haven't launched yet. So I mean, different kind of success stories. So we don't measure success with how much investment you got or how much, like, if you sign a publisher or not. It's more like, you know, are you going towards your goal, and how well you're doing that.
I think we could actually check if there are any questions from the audience.
Is there anybody left? Oh.
Yeah, we can see.
Hi, you mentioned a game that had essentially entered development hell.
You need to look at your knuckles when you're doing it, then you're holding it properly.
Doesn't work.
Check.
Now it's working finally. Yeah. You mentioned a game that essentially entered development, what's known as development hell. How common is it for mobile games to enter development hell? Because, well, some bigger games, of course, enter those quite often, but for mobile games, I mean, there's the ability to iterate, but how often do they actually enter sort of like development hell?
I mean, I can say from the experience that we have within our portfolio, so 46, 47 studios, depends on how you count, but from them we have 2 of them that have done that we are super frustrated with, that it's not out yet. But I mean, the teams that we see, like, usually, you know, if they apply, we don't really know how long they're going to be there still, but we see like maybe like up to 10% of them are like, oh, we've been working on this game for 2 years, or a lot of them are also within like 5 years, we've developed like 3 or 4 games, but we haven't published any. So it's like, well, good for you. You have like, why didn't you? And then it's like super random, like, oh, we saw another opportunity and like we thought we would cut it, and that's actually something that is not helping your team.
Okay, well, thank you.
But I think that's also like, yeah, there are many sort of tricky questions like yours was, as it's very hard when you are working on a game. How do you know, like, you know, what's too much or what's enough, or should I focus on, I don't know, polishing the game or marketing or whatever, talking with whoever. So it's not easy. It's always, of course, like afterwards, like, oh yeah, obviously, like I should have done this and that, but when you get, basically fall in love with your own product, which, of course, everyone hopefully
well,
does.
that's like another thing. I think if you are sort of like polishing it forever, then it's very difficult for you to also see, like, neutrally, from a neutral position, like what are the mistakes and what you shouldn't be doing, and you're having like difficulties letting it go as well when you need to, because I think sometimes you still sort of like need to kill your babies in a way.
Yeah, I often remind developers about, like, for example, Hill Climb Racing. It's not like prettiest ever, and it also has bugs, but still, like, it's super. It's really nice game, and it has loads of players. So sometimes it's not about the like eye candy or
not at all.
finalized styles or very unique whatever twists in the game.
I mean, the sooner you get feedback, the sooner you know what direction to take. Even if the direction is to shut it down.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Behind you.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for all of that. I think it was great. And I was thinking that when you have a team that's sort of far along and you think that it might be ready for a venture capitalist, and you start matching it, the companies to the venture capitalist, what are the things that you look for? How do you make the match?
Well, venture capitalists at the end of the day, they look at the team, so they don't look at the game that much. Because the thing is that the game could fail, and then you have a share in the company, and you're stuck with it. But you sort of like want to know like what the team wants to do in the future. Like what is the plan beyond that? Like, you know, we're doing this game and then we want to build on the IP and do like some stuff around it, or we want to do like a sequel, or this is the target group that we're getting at, and this is how we're doing it, and this is why we believe we can do it. And like for us as well, we look at teams, we don't look at games, because a lot of the time the games that the teams come in with are not the games that they're actually ending up making money for them. So I would say like venture capitalists as well, they look at the team and they look at the vision and they want to see, is there a possibility for me to get like 10x back in like 3 to 5 years? Or are they building a Steam game that will get 100,000 and that will be spent on making the next game that will make 150,000, that will be spent on making the next game that will make 200,000. But the venture capitalist is not seeing any of their money during that process. So, I mean, they need to see that like cash at some point along the line, and you need to be able to show that to them.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Now, I think it's the chance to either have the last question or we'll do a dance.
Please ask something.
So no questions. So we'll take a dance.
No!
Thank you.
You promised it, you dance. You have the Madonna mic, you need to dance.
I can do this. Woohoo! Okay, so thanks so much for participating in this session. The seminar will continue after 15 minutes. So thank you, Kadri.
Thank you, Sonia.
audience.